9/11 is the only event that I know of, other than, say, the Civil War, where you see 9/11 monuments in small towns and cities all over the country and in other countries, in New Zealand and Australia. Why is that? Why did 9/11 galvanate with the citizens so much? It's because their people felt threatened. For the first time in their lives, they actually felt threatened. How many parents ran to their local schools to pick up their kids that day? The people, our fellow citizens, needed heroes. We responded to the World Trade Center right after the first plane hit. And it was quite a dramatic scene when we saw what was lit in front of us. At the time, I had 22 years on the fire department, and I thought I had seen everything that the fire department had to offer me in the city. And I'm looking at the North Tower with large airplane-shaped holes in it with smoke and fire coming out under pressure. It took me back for a while. What we're going to do with this? And I just resolved to myself, this is going to be a big operation. We're going to be a small part of it, but we're going to do our part. Now, firemen have a saying: when other people are running out, firemen are running in. You mean to tell me firemen looked at that? And how horrific did that look? 20, 30, 40 floors of fire, with people jumping out of the building 1,000 feet away. How horrific did that look? You mean they looked at that? And they said, we're going in anyway. You damn right they did. As I was reporting in to get my orders from Deputy Chief Pete Hayden, I was surrounded by firemen from Rescue 1. And we were talking about what we saw as we were responding in, and just then we heard a loud explosion, and we saw pieces of flaming debris falling down outside the building, and we didn't know what it was. Until a man came running in from the outside and said, a second plane has just hit the South Tower. The lobby of the North Tower went silent. One of the firemen from Rescue 1 looked up and said, we may not live through today. And we looked up and we acknowledged his statement. He said, you're right, we may not. And we took the time to shake each other's hands and wish each other good luck. And I hope I see you later. And it's great knowing you. Out of the 14 or 15 guys I was surrounded by when the second plane hit the South Tower, I'm the only one that's alive. They all died. Then it was my turn. It was my turn to get orders to perform that day. And I approached Deputy Chief Hayden and I said, Chief, you know, a plane's just hit the South Tower. And he closed his eyes and he shook his head. He said, I know. Just take your men upstairs in this building for search and rescue and do the best you can. I gave him a salute and I went to my guys. And Chief Hayden later told me, he says, I could see it in the eyes of the young officers I was giving orders to, if they went up the stairs, that they may not be coming down. Then I went to my guys. I had 5 firemen assigned to me that day, and I went up to them and I said, guys, they're trying to kill us. Let's go. And to their credit, every one of them said, all right, Cap, we're with you. Let's go. And we charged up the stairs. My youngest fireman, Sal D'Agostino, turned to me as we were about to hit the beach stairway. He said, hey, Cap, I wonder where the Air Force is. And it struck me when he said it, I never hit a fire building stairway wondering where the Air Force was. But they were on their way. And we started up the beach stairway of the North Tower. And we climbed up. We eventually made it up to the 27th floor. When I was missing a couple guys and I had to find them, and we regrouped on the 27th floor. And all of a sudden we felt and experienced something we had never felt or experienced before. The North Tower shook violently. It swayed back and forth, made a loud noise outside, and then it stopped. The lights went out. Then they came back on. We didn't know what that was. And then there was another captain who used to work for me that was there. I told him to check the south windows, I'll check the north windows, and we'll get back to the stairway. We did that, and I was waiting for the captain to come. His name was Billy Burke. And he approached me, he had a funny look on his face. And I said, why the look? And he looks at me, he said, the South Tower's just collapsed. Knowing what that meant, that thousands of our fellow citizens were just killed next door. A lot of them, some of our friends. So I told my guys, all right guys, if that one can go, this one can go, it's time for us to get out of here. And they balked. It turns out that they didn't hear what Captain Burke had to say to me. I think they just thought that I was going to, I was getting tired and it was time for us to go home. But it was time for us to get out of there because our lives were in imminent danger. And we started down the stairs. And we got to around the 20th floor, and there was a woman standing in the doorway and she was crying. One of my guys turns to me, Tommy Falco turns to me and says, hey Cap, what do you want to do with her? I'm thinking you're being pretty free of our time. No, I don't know that they don't know what I know, if you can follow that. And but I looked at the woman, and she was 1 week shy of her 60th birthday. We didn't know that at the time, of course. And she was crying, and I just told one of my guys, all right, take her arm, put it around your shoulders, give you tools to the other guys who will stay together as a group, and we'll go down the stairs together. That was a pretty dramatic decision to make. People have asked me, what possessed you to do that, knowing that your lives were in imminent danger? And I just told them, it's what firemen do. We didn't go there to have the World Trade Center experience. We went there to save somebody's life. And now this woman, her name is Josephine Harris, became the reason why we went to the World Trade Center. And we started down the stairs. And we were going so slowly with her in tow, we had to step aside a couple times to let people pass. Now, there were other examples of her courage and heroism on the way down. Patty Brown was a captain on Ladder 3. He got a radio transmission from Deputy Chief Hayden. He says, command post to Ladder 3, command post to Ladder 3, get out of the building. And he got on the radio. This Captain Patty Brown is a former Marine. He says, this is the officer of Ladder Company 3. I refuse the order. I am on the 44th floor with a lot of burned people, and we're treating them, we're not leaving them. Captain Brown, his entire company, and all those burned people were killed in the collapse. And we went down a little further. I saw a guy I worked with, his name was Faustino Apostle. And he was just standing in the doorway. I said, hey Faust, let's go, it's time to go. He said, that's okay, Cap, I'm waiting for the chief. His chief was Bill McGovern, and he was supervising some sort of rescue effort on that floor. But he wasn't leaving his partner. Chief McGovern was his partner. We continued further down the stairs, and I saw a man I used to carpool with when I was a fireman in Washington Heights. And his name was Mike Warcola. And this was to be Mike's last day in the New York City Fire Department. He was scheduled to retire on September 12th. And he and another one of two of his firemen were working on a civilian in the stairway. I said, hey Mike, let's go, it's time to go. He says, it's all right, Jay, you got your civilian, we have ours, we'll be right behind you. I says, don't take too long. And so we continued down the stairs. Now my stomach is in a knot ever since I knew that the South Tower collapsed. And I got to the 10th floor, and I'm thinking that, geez, I'm allowing myself the luxury to think we might get out of here. We continued down the stairs, and we made it to the 4th floor, and the woman we were rescuing, Josephine Harris, fell to the floor, and she starts yelling at us to leave her alone. Don't touch me, leave me here, go. And we weren't going to leave her, of course. And I broke into the 4th floor to look for a sturdy chair we could put her on, and we could carry her down the stairs. And I'm way on the other side of the building, keeping in mind that the footprint of these buildings is 1 acre in area. And I couldn't find a sturdy chair. It was a mechanical equipment room floor. So I went running back to the stairway on the 4th floor, and I get about a foot away from the stairway door, and it starts. The collapse of the North Tower with us still inside. I dove for the floor in the stairway. I covered up, and we were getting pummeled with debris, and it was creating tornado-like winds in the stairway. My tillman, Matt Komorowski, got blown down 2 flights of stairs, and you could hear this eerie sound of twisting steel all around us. And you kept waiting for that big beam of that big piece of concrete to come and take us. But then it stopped, and it didn't come. I could hear people coughing and gagging. I couldn't see them, but I gave a roll call, and all my people were accounted for. I said, "What about the woman?" And Billy Butler said, "Yeah, she's right here. She's right in my face." And so we started to try to figure out how to get out, and we couldn't figure it out. And early in the collapse, Mike Warcola, the guy who was going to retire the next day, gave out a Mayday message that he was on the 12th floor, the B stairway. He was hurt bad. So I tried to get up there to get him, and I got to the half landing between the 6th and the 7th floor, and I couldn't move the debris anymore. It was too heavy. I just said, "I'm sorry, Mike, I can't help you." And we could continue to look around and try to find a way to get out, and there was no way out. So finally I made a decision to transmit a Mayday message to those in command, and they had to reestablish command. The command post got destroyed, and they said, "All right, ladder 6, we have you recorded. You're in the North Tower B stairway, 4th floor." I says, "All right, things are looking up. They know where we are." I have no idea what it looks like outside. That all landmarks were gone. You had guys who worked down there and lived down there for years, and they would be in the middle of the pile, and they would get lost. They wouldn't know where they are. So kept talking to people, and most notably there was 2 guys I remember the most. One was Nick Visconti, who was a mentor of mine, and he was supervising the rescue effort to try to find us, and his voice was very soothing, knowing that I had a friend who had my personal interests at heart, that he was going to get me. And the next was my neighbor, Cliff Stadner, who was off duty. And he responded down to the World Trade Center, and he was combing over the pile looking for me. And he would get on the radio and say, "Rescue 3 to ladder 6, Captain J. Jonas, this is Cliff. I'm coming to get you. Where are you?" And I would tell him North Tower B stairway, 4th floor. And he would get the information that he needed, and he would end every conversation by saying, "I'm coming for you, brother. I'm coming for you." And that would send shivers up my spine then, and it does now. So we kept looking, trying to find a way out, until about 4 hours later, there was all of a sudden we saw a ray of sunshine come through the rubble. There was 104 floors that were over our heads, and now I see a ray of sunshine. So I told my guys, "I think we're on top of the World Trade Center." So with the added light, we poked around and we found an area where we could breach a hole in the wall. And I started sending people out of the rubble pile. And I was the last one to come out, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I came out. That it looked like New York City had just been bombed, and essentially we were. We were bombed by 2 fully fueled jet airplanes. And there was smoke and fire coming up everywhere. All the surrounding buildings were on fire, and we had to make our way to West Street, which was where the ambulances were. So all my people, we got them to West Street, and they were able to climb the rubble pile up to West Street. Once we got there, I made my way to the command post, and I saw Chief Hayden. He was the man who gave me orders to go in. And I looked up at him and he looked at me. We both started crying at the same time. He said, "Jay, it's good to see you." I said, "It's good to be here." He said, "All right, get out of here." And we made our way back to the firehouse, and we started trying to put the pieces of our lives back together again. Now, September 11th was the first battle in a war that's still being fought today, the War on Terror. The first casualties of that battle were New York City firefighters, New York City police officers, and Port Authority police officers. New York City Fire Department lost 343 people that day. The NYPD lost 23, and the Port Authority lost 37. There was 2,753, I think the final number is, at the World Trade Center, who died that day. But considering that 40,000 people worked in those buildings, that number of 2,753 is remarkably low. And that number of 2,753 includes the firemen, the police officers, and the people on the planes. So, while that number could have been exponentially higher, it's amazing that so many lives were saved. Firemen often wonder how they would react when their lives were truly on the line and people's lives who were in front of them, their lives were on the line. Well, it was on. It was on 22 years ago. You were being tested. Were you going to be able to hold up under such extreme stress? Well, they did, and they were awesome. But for many, 9/11 isn't over. 310 firemen have died since 9/11/01 from World Trade Center, Kansas. For them, 9/11 isn't over. Families grew up without a husband, without a father. For them, 9/11 isn't over. For those who witnessed the horrors of that day, that suffered from post-traumatic stress, for them, 9/11 is not over. Why did we do that? It's what firemen do. God bless all of you. Never forget, never forgive.